Oda introduced a new detail into Rox Dizebek's ambition on ruling over the world. In chapter 1156, speaking to his newly formed Rox pirates, he declares that he is after 2 devil fruits, one of which is likely in Elbaf and whose true powers will only be revealed if Harold eats it. It's the clearest sign yet that Rox had a very specific goal, and that devil fruits were very central to his plan. Rox wasn't just hunting power wherever he could find it, he knew exactly which fruits he needed, and even knew where they might be. And it may not seem like it, but this actually says a whole lot about Rox as a character, his past, and his connections to the deeper lore of One Piece. But when it comes to the big question of what those 2 devil fruits are, Oda already gave us the answer, with Rox immediately speculating that one of the devil fruits is in Elbaf and suggesting that he's not even interested in consuming it for himself. Rox's plans include for Harold to wield that devil fruit, and we will delve deeper into all of the various implications of what that means in a little bit. But for now, this implies that although Rox was consumed with power, he is also a master strategist. He has no problem giving someone else an overwhelming power if it serves a greater purpose. But also, maybe Rox had no problem with someone else consuming the devil fruit because of the second devil fruit that he planned for himself. And when it comes to that second devil fruit, I think Rox believed that this fruit would give him the means and the ability to counter or destroy anyone. Even someone with immense devil fruit powers like Harold, who is already incredibly strong in his own right. So that even if Rox gave Harold a devastating ability, he's not worried because he knows that if he obtains that second fruit for himself, he wins. And by this, maybe you know what I'm already hinting at and what I think that this second devil fruit may be, but I'm jumping ahead of myself, so let's unpack this together. One by one, step by step, not just a question of what are these 2 devil fruits that Rox was after, but also why did he need these fruits specifically and what did he intend to do with these abilities. But before we dive in, please take a second to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate your help in getting to 100,000 subscribers, and in return I'll make sure you never run out of One Piece discussions. Okay, starting with that last question, what was his plan? What did he want to do? I think that's actually the easiest to answer. We have known from the moment that Rox was introduced that Rox's ambition was to become king of the world. That's what Sengoku says. A goal that was then declared by Rox himself at the end of chapter 1155, where he claims that after becoming the ruler of Hachinosu, he would then set his sights to become the ruler of the world. But of course, chapter 1155 revealed something else, something major, something perhaps even more important when it comes to uncovering Rox's master plan. Because we found out that Rox met Imu. Infiltrating Marijois, Rox made it even to the Chamber of Flowers and interacted with the current ruler of the world, one who rules in the shadows. And it's not entirely clear whether that was the day Rox discovered that an entity, a figure like Imu even exists, or whether Rox specifically set out to confront Imu, already knowing of Imu's existence. Either way, having witnessed this saucy interaction between these two, their conversation ending with Rox's ominous Terminator message, a threat really, promising that he'll be back right here in this room to confront Imu once more, I can't help but feel that this was the moment that fully solidified Rox's dreams and goal to become king of the world. After having confirmed that such an entity already exists, Rox decided he wanted that title for himself. And I have to say that it's hard for me to believe that this encounter just happened by chance. The fact that Rox would infiltrate Marijois, kill an admiral, threaten royals, and then happen to find the flower room and Imu, it just feels like Rox clearly had a mission that he set out on at that particular reverie. But maybe it didn't necessarily concern Imu. Rox may have just had some deep, forbidden knowledge that would get him as far as the Chamber of Flowers, a room within the Pangaea castle that, as the narrator claims, no one has ever infiltrated before or since. And maybe it was just fate that Rox happened to discover Imu. But once he did, he wasn't able to carry out whatever plan he had. Again, the narrator claims that Rox couldn't do more than infiltrate the Room of Flowers, and he knew that he couldn't. And that's where things get really interesting, because upon learning of Imu's existence, happens, it looks like Rox's plans come to a halt. This is despite the fact that we see Rox holding a gun, threatening to kill the kings that he's captured, and yet he doesn't, and he even says that he knows that that would have no consequence when it comes to the one true king of the world, Imu. And to me, this seems like this is the moment where Rox's plans changed. He discovered something terrifying then and there, that there are beings in this world that can't be defeated, not by brute strength, nor by advanced conqueror's haki, and certainly not with any old regular devil fruit. Gaban hinted earlier on in the Elbaf arc that the Gorosei and the God's Knights aren't truly immortal, but they do have some powerful regenerative abilities. And one would assume something similar about Imu, especially since it seems like Imu is the one that bestows immortality or regenerative abilities to the Gorosei and the God's Knights. And even if Imu isn't technically immortal, they likely possess something far beyond normal healing abilities, something that can even withstand even Rox's best efforts. Which is huge because Rox was arguably one of the strongest, if not the strongest figure of his generation, someone obviously very capable of utilizing Conqueror's Haki, as we saw in the brief clash against Harold, which is interesting because in that scene with Gaban that I was just talking about, it was heavily suggested that advanced Conqueror's Haki is the secret to combating the God's Knight's regenerative powers. Whereas, if Rox tried to attack Imu at Marijois, his failure to do so implies that whatever ability that protects Imu, even Conqueror's Haki is useless against it. In any case, failing in his mission after facing Imu, I think this must be when Rox began the search for something else. A different kind of power that would lead him to dig deeper and deeper into ancient knowledge, hidden devil fruit lore, and most likely even the remnants of the Void Century history. All things the world government would condemn him for seeking the taboos of the world. All the while, Rox was searching for the answer to defeat whatever was protecting and sustaining Imu. And based on chapter 1156, that answer and the rest of Rox's plans seems to be two specific devil fruits. Two very special devil fruits that when used together may have potential to give Rox a real shot at victory. Bringing us back to the question of, then, what are the two devil fruits? And like I said earlier, I feel like Oda has already given us the answer with at least one of the devil fruits. If we put all the pieces together, I think the most straightforward answer is that at least one of the devil fruits that Rox was after is the one currently possessed by none other than our rubbery boy Monkey D. Luffy. It is the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, formerly known as the Gomu Gomu no Mi. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Rox says that he thinks it's at Elbaf, and we do know that the Elbafian royal family used to pass down a special devil fruit through the generations. Except that very recently, 14 years ago, this devil fruit was stolen from Elbaf, and then of course very soon afterwards, Shanks managed to steal the so-called Gomu Gomu no Mi from the Cypher Pole agents before it was then accidentally consumed by Luffy. This timeline suggesting that that special Elbafian devil fruit that has been passed down the royal family is the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or the Nika devil fruit that is currently possessed by Luffy. And I have gone through this in greater detail in another one of my videos, which you can watch afterwards if you haven't already. But the other option is that if there is another special devil fruit at Elbaf, then that could be the one that Loki consumed. But in that same video, I actually discussed why I think Loki either has no devil fruit and he has been lying to the Elbafian kingdom for their own sake, for their own protection all this time, or he has another devil fruit completely, but he consumed this outside of Elbaf, and I discussed that in that same video. Which goes back to my point, I think the most likely answer, almost confirmed at this point, is that the devil fruit at Elbaf that Rox was talking about is the one that Luffy has, the Nika devil fruit. But seeing as all of that seems quite straightforward, what really intrigues me is why Rox would say Harold needs to be the one to consume it. Why Rox believes that Harold should be the one to wield that devil fruit power and not himself. And according to Rox, that devil fruit, its true powers will only be able to be unlocked by Harold. And I have to say, this idea that a devil fruit's true powers has to be unlocked only lends even more credibility to the fact that it's most likely the Nika devil fruit, because as we've seen with Luffy, that devil fruit originally seems like it only lends its user the powers of robbery abilities, and it's only after the fruit has been unlocked that it gives its user its full potential of Sun God Nika. But seeing as we have seen this full potential being unlocked by Luffy, why would Rox believe that only Harold would have been able to unlock its true powers? I guess the most straightforward explanation is that it's because Harold is Elbathian, and not only that, but someone with ancient giant blood. An individual with not only immense strength, but someone whose lineage goes back to some of the oldest species to walk the earth. A deep and rich connection to the history of the world. After all, we know that the Elbathians still celebrate and worship Nika, the sun god, the closest connection to the legend we have so far. It even seems like the Buccaneers only know and worship Nika by virtue of being part giants. So then what does this say about Luffy? Why would Luffy have been able to unlock the true powers of the devil fruit? I mean, Luffy is by no means a giant, in fact quite the opposite. Luffy's on the smaller side of One Piece characters that we've seen so far, or at least very average. So the only reason I can think of as to why Luffy would have been able to unlock the powers is because he's part of the Monkey D family. Meaning that not only is he part of the D clan, which is obviously also very deeply rooted in history, but hello, Monkey. I think his family name may be a potential hint as to how Luffy is the descendant of possibly the first human family to have ever existed. The direct descendants of the first people who evolved from the original primates. And that obviously goes back to our real world science about how monkeys and humans actually share the same ancestor millennia upon millennia ago. Otherwise, was Rox wrong? Did he mistakenly believe that an Elbathian was needed to unlock the full powers of the Nika devil fruit? You know, whatever sources he read or he heard about this legendary Elbathian devil fruit was wrong, gave him wrong information. Alternatively, maybe Rox believed that Harold needed to wield the devil fruit because Rox believed Harold was the only one strong enough, worthy enough to unlock the Nika devil fruit outside of himself, which could go back again to his Elbathian and ancient giant heritage, which gives him immense size and abilities to possibly even destroy the Red Line, which is needed to destroy the Celestial Dragons for good. I mean, after all, it is via Dorian Broggy that we hear about this serpent soaked in blood. And I think this is then where the second devil fruit comes into play. Xebec was after two devil fruits, but unlike his son, Rox believed in the common assumption that one person can only have one devil fruit. To consume multiple devil fruits would be to seal your fate. So then when it came to the two special devil fruits, Rox believed that he could only have one for himself, which is why when it came to the candidate for the other special devil fruit, who would Rox want to give it to than none other than his very special beloved friend? In chapter 1156, we see this rather cute side to Rox. He defends Harold when Kaido insults him, calling him his friend, and really getting angry on his behalf because he believes Kaido has disrespected Harold. It's a really unexpected and endearing side to Rox, who is otherwise quite a brutal and terrifying character. A really Luffy moment. And it was also very clear from chapter 1155 that Rox really wanted Harold by his side before embarking on his mission to take over Hachinosu. Rox was clearly impressed by Harold after their brief meeting at Marijoa, and he's been obsessed with including Harold as part of his mission ever since. So when it comes to one of the devil fruits needed to defeat Imu and rule the world, the man Rox wants by his side is Harold, an Elbathian warrior of ancient giant lineage. I mean, that is pretty sick. I can't blame Harold for thinking that he needs someone of Harold's caliber if you're going to embark on something as ambitious of becoming the ruler of all the world. But then why would Rox give Harold the Nika devil fruit? Why not keep the Nika devil fruit for himself and give the other one to Harold? I mean, if Rox knew that the Nika devil fruit was special, that would imply he also knew who Nika was, potentially even who Joy Boy was, and why these two figures are so integral to overthrowing the world. So why would you not want to keep a power that gives you the literal abilities of a deity, of a sun god. Well, the way I see it, one of the only reasons why you wouldn't be interested in having the powers of a god is if you could have the powers of another god. Godly abilities that are even more powerful, even more overwhelming, meaning Rox wanted the powers of another god for himself. As to who or what that god is, well, how about the god of darkness and destruction? I think the way the story is written, it only makes sense that if the Nika Devil Fruit is the fruit at Elbaf that Rox is after, a fruit that is now currently possessed by Luffy, then the other second Devil Fruit must be none other than the Yami Yami no Mi that is now owned by his own son. Yet another detail to further the parallels between Luffy and Blackbeard. And think about how perfectly that makes sense. We know how Blackbeard's Devil Fruit works. As the Darkness Fruit, he possesses an ability that can overpower and absorb everything in his path, even the effects and the abilities of another Devil Fruit user. He possesses the perfect counter to any other Devil Fruit, and that could be why Rox wanted that Devil Fruit ability for himself. To him, it doesn't matter that Harold has the Sun God Devil Fruit, because at the end of the day, he would have the power to nullify Harold's abilities if it came to it. If it ever came down to a fight between Harold and Rox, Rox could be confident in his ability to overpower Harold. And so with this Yami Yami no Mi and his ability to nullify other Devil Fruit abilities, when it came to Rox's plan of becoming the king of the world, assuming that Imu has a Devil Fruit of their own, something that gives Imu their strange, seemingly immortal lifespan, Rox thought that he would be able to counter those abilities too. And then let's take this even further. What if Imu really is the devil behind all the Devil Fruits, as some fans believe Imu to be, especially after the connections between Imu and the devil in the Elbaf arc? This might mean that the Yami Yami no Mi is the perfect counter to the original devil behind all Devil Fruits. And as I've speculated before, it's also possible that the Yami Yami no Mi, like Luffy's Devil Fruit, is not at all what it seems. There may be another layer of abilities that we haven't seen yet, or if Blackbeard has unlocked it already, then the Devil Fruit's true name might be something else. Because I really like the idea of the Yami Yami no Mi being another side, being another version of the Nika Devil Fruit, where the Yami Yami no Mi represents the darker, the destruction side of Nika that we were introduced to in the Elbaf arc. And I like the idea that what this implies is that in our current generation, Luffy and Blackbeard would have to team up and work together to defeat Imu to fulfill a goal that Rox himself never got around to. Ever since Imu was first introduced in the series, fans have long speculated whether this meant Imu or Blackbeard would be the final villain, the final antagonist of the series. Whereas now, I think the way that the story is shaping up, we're inching towards Luffy and Blackbeard having to team up, having to temporarily working together to defeat Imu, and then once that's over, they're going to battle out their respective varying ideologies between each other. Where Luffy wants absolute freedom for himself and others, absolute liberation, Blackbeard is the darkness that Luffy has to overcome, has to push through. I'm envisioning a very Naruto versus Sasuke fight at the end, a battle of conflicting worldviews after they defeated Kaguya together, the final boss. But I do think that there is one more possibility, one other reason why Rox thought that Harold was needed to consume the Devil Fruit as part of his master plan, and this concerns the Galila Company. As soon as Rox declares that one of the Devil Fruits must be at Elbaf and must be unlocked by Harold, the conversation between the Rox pirates flows to discuss the Galila Company, an ancient group of giant shipwrights who have now gone missing, supposedly frozen somewhere in the world. And this seems to be a very important part of Rox's plan. In fact, right after Rox makes his declaration about that Elbafian Devil Fruit, Captain John says, after that, you want to find Galila, right? Which to me suggests that these two are very much connected. That Devil Fruit at Elbaf is somehow connected to this mysterious group of giant shipwrights. Especially because when the other crew members start questioning why the Galila giants would be of any use because they are frozen and dead, or as Barbell teases, even if they did come back to life, they would have no reason to listen to Rox. Which is when Rox exclaims that's why he needs Harold, the current king of Elbaf. And so what all of these pieces together leads me to believe, when it comes to his plan of overthrowing Imu and becoming king of the world, Rox needs Harold as the current king of Elbaf so that the Galilar giants will listen to Harold and then follow Rox after they've been brought back to life. Now, how they would be brought back to life is still unknown. Perhaps yet another power. Maybe it's something the Nika Devil Fruit or even the Yami Yami no Mi can do, something that we just haven't seen yet. Another power that needs to be unlocked. I mean, if the giants are currently just frozen, as in stuck, maybe the Nika Devil Fruit as the power of a liberator could free the ancient shipwrights from death and from ice. But once brought back, Rox needs Harold to control the giants. What does he plan to use the shipwrights for? I'm gonna guess to build the next great ship. As an ancient legendary group of shipwrights, it's already been speculated that they were the ones responsible for building the Noah, and if the last Void Century War resulted in the world flooding, as we know, Rox may already know this, and he knows that they're going to need yet another great ship to survive this next war against Imu. And so then if he needs Harold to resurrect the Galilar and then to lead them, Rox needs the Yami Yami no Mi to defeat Imu, to nullify whatever powers and abilities that Imu has. That's why both Devil Fruits and why Harold is needed. And what's really exciting about this is that if this is all true, then what this means for our current generation, for our story, is that not only is Luffy and Blackbeard needed, we also need Loki. Loki as the Prince of Elbaf, as the heir. He's the one that the Galilar giant shipwrights are going to listen to. Except I kind of also wish that Harridan gets a role in this. So maybe Harold and Loki are going to lead the Galilar company together, going to rule Elbaf as the current co-kings of Elbaf together. And this could be a really heartwarming and emotional journey between the two brothers, finally putting aside their differences and finally forgiving each other, recognizing each other as family. Because even though we are focusing on Rox at the moment, this is Loki's flashback at the end of the day, and this is the Elbaf arc. Both Harridan and Loki getting their own journeys, their own character arc is obviously very integral to this part of the story. And so maybe what that means is that the master plan that we are being introduced to now via Rox is actually going to be fulfilled by Loki and Harridan. But of course, with the help of Rox's son Blackbeard and Luffy as the brother of the son of the man who defeated Rox by forming a very unlikely alliance with Garp. And then this would be a case of history repeating itself with another very unlikely alliance, one between Luffy, Blackbeard, Loki and Harridan, these core key figures fated to realize the dreams of the legendary Rox Dieselbeck. And what a story would that be? So that's where my head is at. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. I do actually have even more thoughts about Rox's master plans. I think it could even involve all the other devil fruits that we saw being offered up as prizes in the God Valley flashback. So let me know if that's something you're interested in discussing further in another video. In which case, also make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any other further discussions. If you enjoyed today's discussion, you can also like and share the video to help support the channel, or even support the channel further like these wonderful people by becoming a Patreon or channel member. But as always, thank you so much for listening to another one of my crazy ramblings. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.